Hey folks, it's your friend David here, and it's another beautiful day in beautiful Tainan. I'm right now in Meiling, which is a place famous for its plum plantation, but I'm not really sure where it's at. I think it's up there somewhere, so let's go find it. The time of the year in which plum trees blossom coincides with the firefly watching season. When you come to Meiling, you must try the plum chicken here, as well as other delicious plum-infused dishes, or the ever so popular crunchy pickled plums. Let's go harvest some plums. Now we know Meiling, or Plum Mountain, is famous for its, what else, plums. But how are they planted and how are they cultivated? Let's ask the manager.
梅子的栽种基本上就是我们小苗必须要2年的育苗，然后育苗完成之后，我们就要去嫁接做品种的改良。那嫁接之后，大概它要3到4年，就是让它成熟一点，它才会开花跟结果。
It takes about 6 years before you can harvest the plums, and 15 years for them to reach maximum yield. Plums are harvested about 2 weeks prior and after Qingming Festival. Most of the plums are meant to be processed further, and they're picked at various stages of maturity depending on what they're to be made into. For example, crunchy pickled plums and plum essence require fruits that are about 70% ripe, which should be harvested before Qingming Festival. Fully ripe plums are good for making pickled chewy plums, plum wine, and plum vinegar. Jams can be made from plums that have been matured even further. We're in the middle of an organic plum orchard. I know it looks like the middle of a forest, but that's the secret. By keeping this place very primitive and all natural like this, nature actually looks after the plum trees. You know, one thing that sets this orchard apart from the others is the fact that they don't artificially shorten their trees. In most orchards, they keep the trees very short, but this one is allowed to grow super tall. In fact, this one is already 6 years old. The plum trees in this area are quite tall, so a hook is required to pull the branches down for easier harvesting. Plums are really easy to pick. You can simply pluck it off the branch, but you still have to make sure not to pull off the adjacent fruits. Usually, as a rule of thumb, when picking plums, you want to look for these really plump fruits with a shiny exterior and a bit of yellow coloration around the stem. These guys here are still not ready. They're a little bit too fuzzy on the outside. But then again, it depends entirely on your use case. These guys are good for making stuff like wines, and these guys, you can still pick them, but they're good for making pickled plums, for example. Just pop it off like that, nice and easy. One last one. Man, it's hard work. Picking plums is definitely not a stroll in the park. In fact, you've got to scale these really steep cliffs. But I think I'm up for the challenge. You know, I see you guys have a lot of plum-related products. How are they made?
一般来讲，我们都是把它定位在休闲食品。
There are tons of plum-derived products. We've got crunchy pickled plums, sweet plums, plum enzyme, plum vinegar, and plum essence.
像现在流行的梅精，就是梅子青梅的原汁下去熬煮成为膏状。
Summer calls for a cup of icy and zesty beverage to cool down the heat. Plum vinegar and plum enzyme are both great options. Meiling is famous for its plum chicken as well, but are the plums used in the plum chicken any different?
如果说要料理用的梅子，基本上我们大概要8、9分熟的梅子来做。第一点，它果肉比较饱满，那再来就是说它的苦涩味会比较轻，所以做出来的梅子就会比较顺口。
These plums are inherently sour, so they're not suitable for direct consumption, but need to be processed to become more palatable. Many people buy plums to make their own plum vinegar or wine. When picking plums, avoid the ones covered in white powder or the ones with streak marks. If you folks are craving for plums, you know where to look for them. This is Meiling, and Meiling is the Plum Mountain after all. I think after days hard work, I'm really going to enjoy this pickled crunchy plum. It's the fruit of my labor after all. So good.